In this demonstration, I thought I'd show you how moving from an explicit proxy configuration in your browser to moving to Zscaler app in a tunnel mode configuration has an effect on the way that your browser will authenticate to sites on your intranet. So let me show you what this looks like. I've got Internet Explorer. Um, the default homepage here is my certificate server, which by default performs Kerberos or NTLM authentication. And you can see I've transparently signed in here. If I click properties on this, you can see that the website is in the local intranet zone. And so if I take a look at why that is, click on Internet Options. If I take a look at the levels here, local intranet says automatic log on with current username and password. This is the default settings for Internet Explorer when you install it on a machine. This is before any GPO changes that might have occurred. And if I click on sites here, there's no sites defined. It's automatically detected this because anything that's not listed in any of the zones, but all sites that bypass the proxy server and UNC, so short names, are defined in the local intranet zone. And so the machine will automatically, or the browser will automatically try and authenticate. Now, it'll either be a Kerberos authentication, it'll go off and get a Kerberos ticket, or it'll be a challenge response, an SP-NIGO authentication mechanism with the web server. And at the moment, I've got gateway.zscaler2.net defined, that's my proxy, and star.welshgeek.net, my intranet zone, or my anything that's local, is defined as a bypass. And that is why this website, WelshGeek, dc2.welshgeek.net, is in the local intranet zone. So let's just go ahead here and make a change. If I was to turn the proxy off and click OK, and let's close down Internet Explorer and click and open it up again, I will get prompted because it's now no longer bypassing the proxy, which is fine, but it is no longer in the intranet zone. If I right click here and click properties, it is now in the internet zone because it doesn't bypass the proxy. So one way we can do this, we can launch Zscaler app, and it will launch over here. Let's give it a second to start up. I'm already enrolled, so I don't need to go through the enrollment process. Internet security comes on and everything. And I launch Zscaler app, and I'm authenticated. It's back in the intranet zone. And the reason for this is in this current configuration, you can see I've got my proxy configuration here. If I curl that file, I can see it's a pack file, and I'm in tunnel with local proxy mode in this configuration. So it's a loopback address, port 9000, and star.welshgeek.net bypasses the proxy there. So we've dropped the website back into the local intranet zone because we're using tunnel with local proxy. So if I come back over here, this is my application profile. I'm in the tunnel with local proxy mode. Come over to administration, my forwarding profile, local proxy, tunnel with local proxy mode. Does exactly the same, more or less, as that proxy configuration, except Zscaler app is then tunneling the traffic once it's intercepted that proxy request. But of course, that's not the way we want to go forward. We want to actually be picking up traffic that's not just within the browser, and that's where we'd move to a tunnel mode configuration. And by default, a tunnel mode will capture anything that's port 80, port 443, or indeed with ztunnel 2.0, it'll capture all TCP and UDP traffic that's generated by my workstation. So let's come across here and go to my application profile and make a change here. And we want to move from tunnel with local proxy mode to tunnel mode and click save. And if I come back to my workstation here, I'm going to shut down the browser I'm going to come over here and I'm going to update the policy. It should have been effective immediately. And we'll open up the browser and I get the prompt again. This is all very confusing. Well, not necessarily confusing. Let's take a look and understand what's happened. All my internet settings are blank now. I don't have any of these settings set because Zscaler app is enforcing the tunnel mode. If I go to ip.zscaler.com, it'll tell me that I'm authenticated and I'm passing traffic through the London node. And that's because Zscaler app is tunneling the traffic. However, because I no longer have that proxy configuration, this DC2 certificate server is no longer in the intranet zone. So I have to make another change here. And the way I do that is I take my local intranet zone, I click on sites, click advanced. I don't want to do DC2. I want to do star.welshgeek.net because that's what I had bypassed in my pack file. So I click close on that. I click OK, click OK. Let's close down the browser and reopen it. And now I get the same behavior as if I was on that proxy configuration or the tunnel with local proxy configuration. The star.welshgeek.net is back in the local intranet zone because I've made that GPO configuration. I've made a GPO configuration, made the configuration change within the browser sites. And that has to be done to give the browser the same effect that it would have if I was still on that proxy configuration. And we see this in a number of different ways. If you've moved from if you're moving from a explicit proxy configuration in your browser to move into Zscaler app in tunnel mode, you need to consider how that will affect the websites and things that will authenticate locally against your browser, and therefore we need to make sure that these things bypass. It's even more important when you move to Zscaler app for not just Zscaler internet access, but for your private access as well, because private access needs to be able to have the web server challenge. The browser needs to be able to understand what that challenge is, and that needs to drop down to private access to be able to go and get those tickets and Kerberos tickets. And oftentimes we'll see that challenge pop up and think it's a Zscaler private access problem, that Zscaler private access wasn't able to get the Kerberos ticket. But actually the root cause for that pop-up is not because Zscaler private access couldn't get the Kerberos ticket, it's because the browser wasn't asking for the Kerberos ticket because the tunnel mode for Zscaler internet access has removed the proxy configuration, which means the browser no longer tries to send that, to generate that Kerberos ticket request. So I hope that's useful. Summary, if you're moving from a proxy configuration to a tunnel mode configuration, the things that are your local intranet zones that are by default bypassing your proxy in your proxy configuration need to be moved into the local intranet sites zone in Internet Explorer. It's also worth noting that even in Chrome, Chrome actually takes its policy from Internet Explorer. So if I go to welshgeek.net, cert, serve, the challenge and response this does within Chrome is actually taken from the Internet Explorer configuration. And I will probably see, there we go, here is my Kerberos ticket that was generated because of that challenge response process. Hope that's useful. Any questions, let me know, mark@zscaler.com.